Hi, welcome to my journey. My name is Cherie. Well, it was a chore to even get my ass here today, but I got here. It is now 3:30. Just finished my workout, right? I did 5 minutes on the cardios, like a warm-up session. I did 2 minutes on the stair climber, and I did one circuit of weightlifting. I didn't do 2 sets. I just did one circuit of all the weightlifting machines, 10 reps each. And then called it a day because I feel like I'm sweating more than usual. It's 97 degrees out here, and yeah, I need to do that to keep to keep my scar flowing brightly. This guy running down the way, screaming and hollering. I wonder if he's calling someone. But he's out here running with no shirt on in 97 degree weather. People love to accidentally hurt themselves. Let me rephrase that. Men love to accidentally harm themselves. Okay? And it's not necessarily accidentally, because if we tell them, look, you might suffer a heat stroke if you go out there running in 100 degree weather. You're like, who, me? Right? We tell them, look, you might catch a virus running out there, exposed in freezing weather. You're like, who, him, them? No. But then they're walking around here, I'm telling you, being a carrier of who knows what. They're just carriers of all kinds of parasites. Right? So that's a man, I think he's driving a Harley, and he wants everybody to know, yeah, I love the vibration of this motor. It gets me off. Right? And think about it. When a man needs a vibrator, that says a lot to me. Right? And he's riding down the street on a fat boy. Yes, a fat boy. Right? He doesn't have a helmet on. He doesn't have no gear on. He's riding down here reckless. Right? Because if he had to wear a helmet and couldn't show off who he is riding down the street on his loud ass vibrator, he wouldn't ride. Right? Because if, back in our day, when they used to ride, yeah, they used to have a helmet, gloves, heavy boots, leather, just in case, they fall, both pants and coat, right? They was in full gear. This motherfucker got on shorts, tennis shoes, t-shirt, a Dallas hat. Yeah. If he falls, yeah. Anyway, that's how men do it. That's how they unintentionally cause accidental injuries to themselves. Right? Running in this heat, right? On here without a helmet, right? I mean, just think, what if a big old fucking wasp, right? A tarantula wasp comes, hitting you in your face. You ain't got no helmet on, you ain't got no shield on, you just exposed. I don't even like the idea sometimes of driving in my car with the window open, because what if a wasp comes in my car? had it happen. A wasp or a bee would come in my car, and me and that wasp are fighting war, right? I have to pull over, guide it out or kill it. It's them or me. It's war. So anyway, yeah, getting back to what I was talking about, I went ahead and I had my 3/4 cups of black beans this morning with blueberries, unsweetened cocoa powder, and milk. It was really good. I mean, I have really been enjoying starting my day off with the beans, right? And of course, you know, I am accustomed to the American diet, right? Where we're used to eating like eggs and bacon and, you know, just a whole bunch of, you know, cholesterol and fats and protein, you know. Yeah, we're used to that, right? Eggs, bacon, sausage, you know, hash browns. Yeah. So, you can see I mangled another t-shirt. There's just no way am I going to have something like this. No way. So, I'm contemplating about going down here and sitting beside the lake because it's so hot. It's 99 degrees out here, and so much crawling on my leg. Oh my God, how did it fucking get there? Yeah. And yeah, 99 degrees is really hot. Air conditioner, right? With an air conditioner, you can probably cool yourself down from 10 to 20, maximum 30 degrees than what it is outside. And that's just how air conditioners work. Because they have to use outside air to cool you off. Am I lying? No, I'm not. And thank God it's also retrograde. It's also retrograde. Mercury is in retrograde. When we speak about retrograde, the only retrograde we are seeming to be concerned about is when Mercury is retrograde. Everybody else, even though they have to be in retrograde to move, they just ain't moving as much as Mercury is. Okay? Okay. Which brings me to the point, right? Mercury, even though they're the fastest moving planet, right? It does have to also retrograde and then propel itself forward. Now, the moon does not. The moon, it just is a forward movement. That's what I wanted to say. It just was downloaded to me instantly. Like the moon just downloaded to me just like that. Like, yeah, but the moon, it just moves forward. It does not retrograde. Ooh, I'm gonna get away from this dude. So yeah, and he happens to work for the city of Raleigh. Driving on the medium like that. Ooh, let me move away from him. So anyway, I guess today we're gonna get to the triple digits. It's only 3:45 right now. It's 99 degrees. Yeah, we're hitting the triple digits today. Whew. I can't even tell you. This heat will make you melt. It will make you melt. So I decided to come out here by the lake, right? Up there, they have two white boys fighting each other, pushing each other, fist punching each other, claiming that the other one doesn't care about the other one. It's really weird to me. It's like, oh, you guys are gonna beat each other down because you want them to say they love you. Whew. Anyway, got my little portable fan here. It's quite big. Right? Oh, I mean, it is hot out here. It's hot. It's hot as hell. And hell's hot, right? And hell's hot. So we're laying down here, trying to cool down because it's hot out here. Found out that the bridge is open, even though I went around. It's nice to know that I can go back home through crossing the bridge. So yeah, I'm over here by under some trees. I definitely had to spray on some DEET because the bugs was real. Now I'm parked over here by one of them outhouses right there. See it? Yeah. Parked over there by an outhouse, but it was either park there and be in the shade or go and be in the sun. And I didn't want to park in the sun, so I'm like, okay, we'll park near the outhouse. Oh shit, I have to recharge my fan. Damn it. Okay. So now there's a third guy that showed up. And I'm hoping he'll be able to like mediate this fighting shit. Because somebody must be really on some type of trip. I mean, they must be on like a bad trip. And that's what can happen sometimes when you take a bad trip. You know, a lot of people think, oh, we're similar to a mushroom created from the earth, but there are certain mushrooms that can have definitely an adverse effect on us, right? The pretty one, the red one with the white dots on it, right? They can give you hallucinations. And if you're not in a good frame of mind, you can get a bad trip. That bad trip will take you to a dark place. And that's what I think is going on with this dude that's fighting over here. Okay? He decided to go on a trip, and they were making an event of it, right? They're eating out, they're barbecuing, they're cooking. It's a cookout, and they're having a little bad trip. They're pretty much here by themselves. There's a few people, stragglers, coming in and out. But for the most part, if you're not on a bad trip, you can actually enjoy the ride. But obviously, this guy doesn't feel safe. And because he doesn't feel safe, he made his trip even worse because he ended up getting into physical fighting with this guy that he was claiming doesn't love him. And if he doesn't love him, I mean, he's shouting, you heard him shouting. And if he doesn't love him, he would just walk away. And the guy is like, stop tripping, dude. You're on a bad trip. And even there was a couple of times the guy was even telling them, I do love you, now shut the fuck up. So yeah. This is what it's like here where I'm at. It's my understanding that in some other places it's so uncomfortably hot that yeah, they can't handle the heat. Right? They can't handle the heat. So we got 2 more days of June. I'm telling you, probably, I wish I had brought my air pump. I think even if I had brought my air pump, I might even try to put my kayak in the water. Especially over here because there's not big boats coming around here. Just some small boats here and there. This is a perfect place for kayaking. Like I said, 35 years ago, I really felt like this would be an excellent area for retirement. And here I am, in the spot that I thought I could retire in, struggling, but we're here. Yes. I never wanted to, just be like, I mean, I didn't never want a house bigger than I can clean, okay? Or a house bigger than I can afford somebody to come in and clean. Either or, I'm good with that. But like I said, I'm still waiting for my money to come in so that, I can restore my house and probably rent it out and go travel the world, And definitely I think I think we'll start doing kind of like what they do in California. And California, you have to bring your your own appliances because you know the tenants don't take care of your the appliances that you left in the house. They don't take care of them. So then it's to the point where, okay, in California, they went ahead and you had to bring your own stove, you had to bring your own, refrigerator, you had to bring your own washer and dryer unless somebody just left it there, right? And people don't seem to understand that a lot of times, you know, the loss of benefits has happened as a result of people taking advantage of a situation or a landlord or many landlords. They think it's all a result of just being greedy. But I mean, how are you really being greedy if, you had provided, appliances only to find out that, you know, they they won't even buy the $10, $20 air filter that goes into the central air heating unit, right? So then, you have to make a whole system that, okay, you come in quarterly or monthly and change the air filter out, and then they were like, well, we feel like, our privacy is being violated, and maybe for some people, they wanted the privacy, and maybe they did make a deal and say, that they would, change the air filters out, right? Or they would, maintain the yard, right? Because they're not going to, like, unless it's a vehicle. Unless it's a vehicle, normally they will, you know, post fines and press charges against, whoever's the title of the property, right? If it's a vehicle, they can look up, the registered owner of the vehicle. If it's not registered, then they will escalate it to the property that it's on. And if, the property is on land that's not owned by the owner of the property, usually, they'll just, tow it, get rid of it. Now, the government is in full force right now. They are out here making sure that, people, have a proper business license, health certificates, to do business, you know, uh, I guess in Mexico, and maybe in some neighborhoods, because I remember when I was young, we used to have a lemonade stand, but that was not, trying to do like a big commercial business. But when they set up these, 5-gallon jugs of fruit juice and, you know, typically what you would see in Mexico, which it's understandable that Mexico can get away with that because they don't have a lot of refrigeration. Um, the environment is probably real transitory, and sometimes, just being in the right spot at the right time, you know, is better than, say, somebody, going to the store and having to spend $3 or $5, just to get a bottle of water. When you can get, a $2, $2.50, uh, fruit drink. What would you do if you were in Mexico? In Mexico, you're not even supposed to drink the water anyway. So I still have some leftover shrimp, hot link, and bacon and egg and spinach mixture that I'll eat for lunch when I get back home. I also took out some catfish for dinner later on. You know, I have been getting up fairly late because, like I said, the air conditioning has brought a whole level of sleep into my life. So even though it might be like 100 degrees outside, like right now, inside the house, it will feel even hotter than that. But, that's just the heat index. The actual temperature would probably be about 88, 90 degrees, you know. But with the air conditioner, I do get like a 10 to 20 degree temperature difference in my room where I have the window unit. And it feels good, especially like in the morning, because in the morning before the sun rises, like between 5 and 6 and 7, like around here, it's nice and cool and I get the best sleep. And I usually sleep, for a few hours, like it's till about 10, something like that. But, I do wake up, every few hours because I do have to go to the restroom, you know. And I honestly was sitting up there thanking uh, the trees out in my backyard for providing shade. Right now I'm sitting up underneath several trees, and underneath the tree, it's definitely, um, 10 degrees cooler. hmm So it feels really good to be out here in nature and see, these beautiful birds. The only thing that's making it, weird, are these two boys that are fighting. I don't know if they're lovers or if this is a domestic dispute, even though they are fighting over love. And they just talk non-stop talking. And it just like you kind of wish they just shut the fuck up, right? So I can hear some nature. I can hear nature. So I'm definitely gonna have to stop at the store on the way back home and get some water flavoring, and that's the main thing, because this is the last little bit of my water flavoring that I have right here, and with the little bit that I have in the refrigerator at home. I am definitely thinking about going to Winco and buying the water flavoring, because not only is it cheaper, but they have more variety. And then every time I start to feel like people will get caught in a theft that they have committed, in regards to, power of attorney, in regards to falsifying wills, in regards to making statements that, people are dead who are not dead, which, the catastrophe that, a lot of people wanted, because there are a lot of people out there that wanted another catastrophe to the same pandemic or epidemic level. They're getting it with the heat and the earthquakes and the volcanoes. They're getting it, right? And, oh wow. That duck right there just got him a good piece of fish. Yeah. Life is great. So that's what they wanted, right? And so we got earthquakes happening all around, especially the Pacific Rim. Okay, especially the Pacific Rim. They wasn't used to the type of earthquakes that has happened in Venezuela, which makes me think that Venezuela was definitely being punished. Right? Because it just came right after, America put sanctions on Venezuela, right? America had put sanctions on Venezuela just last year or this year, beginning of this year. And then boom, Venezuela is like crumbled damn near to the ground. Their whole infrastructure, right? And then China, right? Nothing that really been going on in China. Now Japan has been taking hit after hit after hit, right? But China got hit with power outages and flooding and storms, right? And we have them here in the States too. Don't think we don't. Because we do, right? Tornadoes, flooding. Yeah, we got power outages. And I mean, that was one of the things that I had thought about. I'm like, my God, if you have such devastation when it comes to like flooding or an earthquake, you're going to they're going to have to cut the power off. Because, the danger and the damages that could happen, from open circuits of electricity can be far worse than what has already happened, as a result of the flooding and the earthquake, right? So that was something that they hadn't really, talked about. Because right now, like in Venezuela, they don't have electricity and stuff, but they're not talking about that. What they're talking about is trying to find survivors. And so I think America has sent them like some cadaver dogs, to help them out in their search, because they're saying that there's like 50 to 60,000 missing people. Okay? So, yeah. I mean, there's calamity happening all around us, right? And the loss, the material loss is so devastating. I don't even see how they have the audacity to try to collect old debts. I just don't even see how that's even possible, right? I didn't even understand how they could do that after what had happened on the pandemic, right? Because right before the pandemic, people was losing money on their savings accounts. They were being restricted and could not have access to their funds, and they kept losing money. And then the pandemic happened. People got laid off. People were using up their savings. People were using up, their pensions, right? And their pensions may not have been company coordinated, right? Because if you're self-employed, you probably are going to have to set yourself up with an IRA as your pension. It's your pension plan. Right, and that's something that, you can get like some protection, but, penalized if you touch it early. That's why I call it more of a pension plan. Because it's a long-term plan. It's a Roth, IRA, something like that, Something that, a Roth, I think, will allow you certain access to it, where, say, you get into it to fund, your child's college education, or something like that. Right. But with the pandemic of 2020, oh my gosh, everybody lost money. And the ones that didn't lose money, we're looking at them side-eyed, like, how did you survive? How did you survive the catastrophe? What were you doing? Yeah, this dude here, he must be on some type of hard trip.